Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another very short Dead by Daylight review. Creation review, yeah. Let me change the title. Very short DVD creation reviews. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. I also don't think anything that I put down actually has the Dead by Daylight tag on it anymore. Nope. Hmm. So yeah, that's untagged itself, which is real fun. Either way, we are doing creation reviews. There's only a select few today, so it's going to be real quick. Could be 30 seconds, could be 30 minutes, depending on how long I feel like drawing it out. We've seen all of these, or I've seen all these and went over those, so I'm not going to. We have an additional comment on the killer concept of the killer hook. Why not see what the comment says? Kind of like a rewrap. This is the Song of Barker's one with the metallic note, Painful Beast, and Hex Musical Terror that I went over either yesterday or the day before. Lulu, funny, says, first of all, the power needs extending. What does that mean? Extending. So, the power, I'm assuming the skill. Skip all of this. This killer can This killer hook can create a huge sound wave, causing all survivors within 40 meters to scream. Revealing their position after using killer hook, it increases its maximum speed to 175% for 15 seconds. Ability cooldown after 60 seconds. Let's see how Lulu screws this up. First of all, the power needs extending. What are we trying to extend, Lulu? The only thing you're extending is my never ending list of how stupid you are at this point. It's basically Doctor, just with a speed boost after sending out a sound wave. Well, that's the only thing a Mouse 1 killer needs. And that's the only thing crucial to any Mouse 1 killer is speed. You can have a basic generic killer that's a cardboard box. As long as they have speed, they can run around and be as effective as any other killer out there. And it's funny how you say it's basically Doctor with just a speed boost because this particular thing is set to a particular limit. It's not set to tear radius or anything like that, like Doctor's is. And then his other attack is just a basic burst that goes out in a cone or a circle. So it is similar, yes, but I mean, you could say that barbecue and chili is similar. Thrilling, or not thrilling tremors, Jesus, infectious fright, and any of the perks like that that react within, tear radius or anything like that is just the doctor put into a perk. That's not true. This has a 40-meter set to it. This killer, which he never went back and changed, so we're still gonna assume it's 3.6 meters per second. This killer's base speed is slower than survivors. The only time they get the ability to actually speed up and do anything is that 15 seconds, which again is enough time to get over to a survivor, get that hit in, and if it's close to you, or if they're close to you, to pursue them and get close again. Because obviously, with this huge increase of speed, you're not going to have the greatest control unless you have, like sensitivity out the wazoo. But I mean, you're going to be window faked and things like that because you're going to be zooming. So, you're going to have to play kind of cautiously. Yes, you can get a significant amount of distance, but I wouldn't just call it a reskin doctor power with speed. The doctor power trumps it because he has a primary and a secondary power. A huge locating radius, which can be extended. Then he has a base attack or a base power that he can use once he finds somebody to keep applying the effects and the pressure and all of that. Whereas this is just a location and not even a very good one, but it's just a location and a speed boost. Now, I could agree with you if you said, this killer is just a mix of, one of Doctor's move sets and then like Wraith speed. So you're just taking the invisibility off of the Wraith and giving him, searching tech, something like that. I could agree with that. But saying it's a doctor with just a speed boost, I don't know about that. And I was a Dr. Main all the way up till I started playing Ghostface, and I haven't went back rarely since, but I mean, I ain't played the game in a while either. Metallic Note is already a perk in the game called Oppression, except if a survivor is on the gen, they get a difficult skill check. Sound waves bounce off generators, creating a chain reaction. When you damage the generator, the 3 nearest generators in repair explode. If there is a survivor on working one of those, no. That is not just oppression. Let me look it up for you. We're going to go over this Mill, and I'm going to explain it slow, just in case Lulu does decide to pick up one of the videos or anything like this. I'm going to explain this slow so your brain can understand this. So life has been difficult to use, so you make a difference. When damaging a generator, up to 3 other random generators also begin regressing. And you trigger a skill check if the selected generator is being repaired. It also has a cooldown and a whole bunch of other things. If we look at this base, like base, and not, look at the other perks that are incorporated in Dead by Daylight. Yes, when you damage a generator, the 3 nearest generators and all of that explode. Up to 3 other generators begin regressing. If somebody's on it, they get a skill check. This gives them a chance to come back from it. This is slightly different because, and Metallic Note, again, when you damage a generator, the 3 nearest generators in repair explode. That's it. Again, if you would have said it was a mix of, Scourge Hook perks and the Twins perks and a whole bunch of other things, yes, I could get on the same page as you and things like that. But the thing about Metallic Note, anytime that you activate this particular perk, you are going to get gen explosions if survivors are touching gens. You are going to get gen explosions. And it's the nearest generators in repair. So if all 4 survivors are working on a generator, which generally you'll be chasing one survivor off of a generator and the rest will be working on it. You have the survivor that you just chased off the generator. You're damaging that generator, and then the 3 other survivors working on generators are going to be knocked off of their respective generators. As of you using oppression, kicking the particular generator, and 3 random generators are going to start regressing. And then if one of the random RNG generators that are selected has a survivor on it, they get a difficult skill check, which is negligible. You hit it like any other regular skill checks, not hard to hit. So you can take out the difficult skill check part. Throw that away. That really doesn't matter unless it's like new survivors. We're talking about, nitty gritty. Skill checks are going to be learned as you play, and once you master them, you master them. You rarely miss them. So here's your options. You can either damage a generator and hope that one of the three random generators scattered throughout the map, which is up to, by the way, up to three other generators, can get any damage or anything like that, and hopefully, scare a survivor, maybe force a skill check miss or something if you stack it with like Thriller or Huntress's Lullaby or something like that. But to get actual power out of this, you need to have perks stacked with this. This perk is not good by itself. Three other random generators begin regressing. You can just run Ruin, and anytime anybody's not working on a generator, they'll regress by themselves. Ruin trumps this perk. It doo-doos all over oppression. And then you have three random generators from oppression doing absolutely nothing. Whereas, what was it? Metallic Note? Metallic Note, you will always be intercepting survivors every time you activate this perk. You'll always be messing with three survivors that are nearest to you. There is no guesswork. There is no nothing like that. If you chase a survivor off of a generator and you kick a generator, the other three survivors that should be on generators, their generators are going to explode every time. That lets you know exactly, pinpoint where these survivors are. So your thing is there's already a perk in the game called oppression. Yeah, there is. And there's a lot of perks in the game that, are in like slippery meat that need a buff, but behavior just ain't got around to it or don't have it in their plans to do. Now, I'm not standing behind Metallic Note saying that it's a good perk or anything like that. Well, it should be implemented or anything like that. Because obviously, it's a mix of multiple perks. It's a mix of Scourge Hook perks and Oppression and a whole bunch of other perks, but it's essentially been upgraded to actually be usable as opposed to Oppression's almost uselessness that it has now, especially if playing against people that are at a higher rank. I mean, you can stop the regression easily just by walking past a particular generator and just touch it. Once you touch it, boop, it stops regressing, it's done. Or you can run Ruin, and as soon as they let go, it's done. So if you know about the perk oppression, then you should know how, for the most part, useless it is by itself. Again, stacking it with Huntress's Lullaby and, all the other different perks that you can stack together with oppression to make it worthwhile, it's good. But I shouldn't have to stack a perk with another perk to get usability. Comboing it, hello Galanonim, comboing it with another perk, is a normal thing that happens, Yeah, there are some nasty combos out there, but I shouldn't have to combo the perk to make it good. And that's the issues that I coming up with that particular perk. When I complain about perks being similar to another perk, it's generally the exact same perk Well, it's generally a perk that does, for the most part, fine on its own, or it's a mix of perks that do fine on their own that are people are just trying to combine together so they don't have to run a particular perk set in order to get the power out of a perk that, can be ran by itself and be completely fine. So I agree with you on the fact that, yeah, it is kind of following oppression's skill sets and things like that, but it's different. It's like, well, Galanonum's perk, when everybody was like, oh, well, it's like Kindred, it stops the timer. What's the point of it? Well, Galanonum's perk gives you time beforehand, and Kindred gives you time afterhand and forces you to make an action. It's a different type of situation in which both of these will be used. Oppression's a monitoring perk, and Metallic Notes, hey, get off my generators perk, and I know exactly where you are if you decide to keep working on that particular gen. It gives you a lot more value than Oppression ever will. Painful beats. When you knock down a survivor, all survivors within 40 meter get the effect exposed to 20 seconds, perk cooldown 80 seconds. Painful beats is like Starstruck, except you don't have to pick up the survivor first, but it's alright. It would be useful to use it, but save the best for last and Infectious Fright. I mean, so is Starstruck. But you said that it's alright, but you said Metallic Note is like Oppression, but Metallic Note was actually a different form, and you complained about it. And then next sentence, you talk about painful beats being like Starstruck, but then you say it's all right. Like, it just amazes me how people can literally make one statement and then the next instance make a contradictory statement right after it, or prove themselves wrong right after it. And it happens all the time. Sometimes you can win a conversation without even saying anything because the person will talk themselves into the ground. Now, I will agree that Painful Beats is like a Starstruck, except you don't have to pick the person up. Actually, it's even better because, well, Starstruck is right around kill radius range, and this goes out a little bit farther. But, hello, I have to mention that now every time I hear kinship or Kamarani, I get PTSD. Yeah, yeah, I can feel that because people are still commenting on your post about it, and I'm just like, I don't understand how they don't understand. It's like, how hard is it to just stop and think about it? It's like Jesus Christ. Just think about it. Stop bandwagoning. Stop talking about ratios and all of that stupid crap. Just think. Think for yourself. Be an individual. See that the other people around you are stupid and then change your mind. Don't understand Inception, pretty much. But yeah, Painful Beats is definitely very OP, especially for some killers who can just start clapping things like the nurse we talked about. You can just go over, teleport to somebody, clap somebody, teleport over to another person, clap them. Especially with the triple blink. Bubba. Well, I guess Bubba don't really need any more buffing, but it would work for his basement camping. He could mouse one instead of go through the charges. Let's see. Talks about Hex Music of Terror. Which, by the way, there's powers, perks, very small thing. Musical terror again. As soon as a survivor jumps through window, it will be blocked. When a survivor throws a pallet at you, it's instantly destroyed. Effects last till Hex is destroyed. Hex Musical Terror is a buffed Hex. X Musical Terror is a buffed Hex. Hey, did you guys know that a Hex is a Hex? But no, I'm making a dumb joke. Because it's not, this sentence isn't structured right. And that's what it seems like. I'm making a joke. I know it's Hex crowd control. And I don't know why he'd go straight after Hex crowd control when there's Bamboozle, and I guess the Trickster's perk does block it when a survivor rolls through it, but why stop there when you got Bamboozle for when a killer goes through, you got crowd control for when a survivor jumps through it, plus the Trickster's other stuff that will expose you if you do it the wrong way. You also have the Spirits perk that instantly break pallets, etc., etc. Because that if you're gonna go, keep going. Hex Musical Terror is a buffed Hex crowd control, which is another Trickster's perk. And just for Lala sakes, survivor who's performed a rushed vault through a window prompt the entity to block it for the next 20 seconds. This perk, as soon as a survivor jumps to the window, it gets blocked. When a survivor throws a pallet at you, it's instantly destroyed. Now, same thing, different wording. It doesn't have a lot of information, though, or a lot of detail about how it'll be blocked, how long it'll be blocked, things like that. And then the pallet wise, when a survivor throws a pallet at you, which I don't know what throwing pallets at a killer entails, because you really just throw the pallet down. But I mean, if you can throw pallets at killers, that'd be pretty cool. Any killer, respecting a pallet, you can just kick that shit at them and say, "Take the pallet, bitch," and the pallet be instantaneously destroyed, but the killer gets stunned because he just got smacked in the face by a pallet the survivor kicked at him. You have no idea what this person means because, well, he literally says when a survivor throws a pallet at you. Not throws a pallet, not stuns you with the pallet, not anything like that. Literal word says throws a pallet at you. So how do you know this isn't a perk or a hex that blocks every window that a survivor jumps through? No time limit, just blocks it completely. And then when a survivor can throw a pallet regularly, and then he can throw the pallet completely just at the killer, just yeeting pallets and knocking killers out left and right. And the effect of that is the pallet being destroyed. So they essentially stay stunned like 5 seconds instead of getting stunned and then happen to break the pallet and all of that, making the game faster. You have no idea that that person didn't mean it that way, and you've already threw things on. And you didn't even say anything about the instantly destroyed pallets and all of that being anywhere near the spirit, which is kind of interesting to me, since you like to throw perks and hexes and things at people. So you must be a trickster main Mr. or Miss Lulu, and that's why you know all of this particular information. So yeah, you say everything that you do, and then you say, so yeah, this perk definitely needs rethinking. Why Lulu annoys me, besides the fact that, like NCR, they like to make things way too powerful or steal other people's ideas or things like that. And now they're harping on somebody about it. Nowhere here do they say any of the good parts of the particular perk, whether they're good, whether they should be implemented or anything right there. The only thing they got after being, told that it's like the trickster's perk is, but it's alright. And then it would be useful with other perks. But what's the feedback? The only thing you've done is essentially bitch at him and say that all of his perks are like other perks in the game, but you haven't gave him any feedback, any suggestions, any ways to change anything or anything relevant to the particular perk. He's put down all of this information, and nobody even said anything about the speed being 3.6 instead of 4.6 or any of that. And I just find it interesting how somebody who's a shit creator, just go ahead and throw that out there, somebody who's a very bad creator can go to somebody else's post and talk about all of this stuff. And every time I look at Lulu's posts and perks and things like that, I find myself just shaking my head and face palming most of the time. Just interesting how these things work. Bird, 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 bird is the word. Oh, did somebody help Z Wolf? No, not Lulu. Lulu, go climb a tree. This is the last chance perk, which I've went over, I believe, once a day. Essentially, if you're left on the hook to your last phase, the hook breaks, and then you can run away with a 9-second endurance effect, but the killer can moor you. Lulu says it sounds good, but some would would argue that the perk tier should be 100, 105, and 110. 100, 105, 110. 100, 105, 110. Is that really what's relevant here? I mean, like, seriously, is that really the relevant thing here? Why would it ever be scaled upwards? Like, how do you even get this information in your head to scale this upwards from 100 to 110? At the weakest that this perk is, you would want it to be at 110, if not upwards of 120. If you would have said, hey, make it 120, 110, and then 100, maybe I'd agreed with you some. But swamping it around and making the purse worse when it scales up is kind of ridiculous. One, I would just make it a flat 100 seconds because you already have scaling on your endurance effect and there's no point in double scaling. But if you are going to double scale something like this would be the way to do it because 120 seconds is the max amount of time you can be on the hook, which you can argue that this should be set at 120 seconds. So, as soon as you're about to get clapped by the entity, the hook drops and lets you go free. The actual number in the data files will be like 119 point something. obviously, because it can't be 120 or you would get sacrificed, but behavior will take care of that. But making it 10 seconds left gives you like a 10-second buffer, to which you can, the killer's doing something, you can kind of get off if that is the issue. As the perk gets better, you now have a 15-second buffer, and then you end up getting a 20-second buffer that as the killer's going around you and doing things like that, you can potentially get off of the hook whenever you need be, and then you can get away if it's, obviously you're about to die. You gone. So you might as well use the perk to get off the hook. And let's see what else Lulu has to say. It sounds good, but some would argue that perk tiers should be 100, 105, and 110. I don't think anybody but you would argue that, Lulu. It makes no sense to scale the time upwards to make you be on the hook longer to activate said perk. Reasoning is because a teammate could be on their way to save you from the hook. But the perk could activate a few seconds before they save you, leaving you broken for the rest of the game. And that is why the perk is activatable at 100 seconds. So you have that 20-second gap if somebody's coming to save you to not jump off of the hook or to get ready to jump off the hook, as soon as the killer's looking the opposite direction or another way. This is your final hook. Keep in mind that this perk, Last Chance, is made for if you are going to be sacrificed. Like, I guaranteed sacrifice. Nobody's coming to save you. None of that's happening. You are going to be sacrificed. That's what this situation's made for. Not for a survivor coming to rescue you or anything like that. Now, if a survivor waits to the last second and they don't get to you in time and the perk activates, you would have been dead anyway. So I'm not understanding because a teammate could be on their way to save you, but the perk could activate a few seconds before. I'm not understanding that. You have until you have until all of this time to get that done. Now, what you could have done instead of saying all of this is say, add a trigger to it. Simple. Make it triggerable. After this happens, the perk lights up, you can click a button, you can jump off hook. That would be the smart way to give some sort of constructive feedback and actually make sense as opposed to going off this sort of spiral. Well, what if a teammate's already after you and 100 seconds hit and you get the broken status effect given to you as they're on their way to get you? And that 1% case that actually happens, you have to keep in mind that you've been on this goddamn hunt for 100 seconds. And it's almost 2 minutes. It's a minute and 40 seconds you've been sitting on this hook. If anybody was gonna go for you, they would have already went for you. If you've been on the hook for that long, either you're playing with a bunch of new people or you are being face camped to the absolute last second. That killer wants you out of the game. He don't want to deal with you anymore. He's tired of your crap. He wants you gone. So like I said, it's a very 1% that a survivor is going to be running after you to try to get this unhook after 100 seconds have passed. Which is another reason why it don't need to be scaled up to another 10 seconds. The only thing you're doing is giving the killer more of a narrow passage of when they have to camp you to make sure nobody can save you, or to time it to when the perk actually activates to get you off the hook. and they can just follow you and redown you, or go for a double tap or whatever it is they have in their disposal. It's a bit weird, this one, because it wouldn't really be fair on the killer. What's not fair to the killer? The fact that the other survivors left this survivor on the hook for 100 seconds, so they went to their second phase. How is this not fair to the killer? The killer should have to 3-hook every survivor to win. That's 12 hooks. If one person gets left on a hook and doesn't get taken off, I think it's not fair to the survivor for them, a regular person playing the game for fun, to just be left there to die. Because either an SWF don't really care about you because they're playing with their buddies and all of that, and it's a 3-man group and you're the odd man out. I think you should be given a second chance. Now, I don't 100% agree with this particular implementation of the perk. It obviously needs to be adjusted some and then sent to PTB, but I already went over this multiple times. But I don't understand how it wouldn't be really fair to the killer. Why would the killer care when he should have had to hook this person 3 times anyway? Now he has to hook them twice. Even using the Mori, you have to hook them twice. There's exceptions like Judas's Tombstone and, Rancor and things like that, obviously. But for the most part, you're not supposed to be able to kill a survivor till they've been hooked twice. He even added the ability to get the Mori in so you can take the time just Moriing them if they run into a corner or something and you don't have to worry about hooking them. Or if they're at an exit gate trying to get out. You ain't got to worry about doing all of those, games and all of that. You just knock them down, Mori them, and get on with your life. So she's made 2 points there. This is a roundabout way of saying that the perk should have an activation to it. Okay, if she would have just said that, I probably would have agreed with her, but her roundabout way of saying this and her explanation is very subpar. And then her second point was the wouldn't be really fair to the killer when the killer hooked the survivor 1 time, and as Dead by Daylight sits now, that person would have just stayed on the hook and died in 1 hook. Killer don't care if they get off the hook or not. I mean, it's annoying when they use like Deliverance or something, but I mean, if their other survivor friends would have done what they were supposed to do and unhook them, I mean, the game would have still continued on. So it's negligible whether or not they get off the hook or not. Like I said, it's almost there for being an actual implementable perk. It just needs to be implemented better. And if he figures this out, he can actually have a very high chance of getting this in, or this particular perk in, for the next DLC. I could see them picking up and adopting this actual idea into the actual game. We're talking about the ring and things like that, and Last Chance fits the bill on that. So, much as I hate to admit it, with a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of professional help, not psychological, but actual, game designing and perk designing, of course. If this was pushed to behavior, they'd probably consider it. Actually, like, consider implementing a perk like this. So I wish somebody would actually help this guy and move him along the right or the right way so he could succeed. I'm not going to. I make videos on the daily. I've made community posts and things, letting people know that I do review of their things. I've already advertised, and I'm not gonna get clapped telling everybody to come to my YouTube channel all the time, especially when there's active moderators around who are clapping people for not citing sources and other stupid things. I ain't sticking my neck out there for that. And I'm not gonna sit there and write, a 30-minute, 30 to 40-minute review that I'm doing, in voice and in person, and sit there and type out everything as I'm saying it for them to get, the information that they need. Q ain't gonna get in trouble to help somebody else succeed unless it's worth it, is essentially where I'm at right now. I was that dumb kid that in the past at one point in time that, other friends and adults and things like that, would take advantage of and be like, oh, hey, hold this. And the cops would show up and be like, hey, what are you doing with that? What were you guys doing? And then I'd get in trouble. I learned very quickly that no, 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 no. Being nice to people and being helpful is fine, but don't do it at the expense of, your own situation. Like, don't get your account blocked or banned or clapped or anything just to help somebody get a few extra steps. Instead, spread awareness to everybody and then let them, all come down to collective, to come together as a collective and help everybody succeed. Why stop at one when you can help all? Anyway, this is a cavity chapter. The killer is the sweetener. Uh, please change the name of your killer. Reason being is slang. The sweetener in some industries does not necessarily mean, like Candyman and things like that. I'm just going to throw that out there. Power, I guess behavior don't care. They'll just make memes of it with the viewers. So, whatever. Power, tough taffy. The Candyman has the ability to toss out a sticky taffy. Oh my god, I think it is a reference to all of that. Okay, switching gears. Candyman has the ability to toss out sticky taffy, sticking to the survivor. If landed, making them incapacitated and slowed. For how long and what percentage? If missed, acts as a trap on the ground for 5 seconds. So what you're saying is if I throw this sticky taffy at a survivor and I miss them and it lands in front of them, they can still get trapped by it. Killer that tosses sticky stuff. Yeah, with the name that he has, it's definitely a reference to something derogatory. Killer be throwing them ropes. That's all I gotta say. He also has a special ability, Sugar High. After taking a large bite of his candy cane. Oh my god. This Candyman has a tear radius of the entire map and has a long dash that leaves a trail of bloody candy wrappers. That's fucking sick. At the end of his dash, any pallet and vault is blocked. If hit with the dash, which stops the ability, you are downed. A large dash doesn't tell me how fast, how long, how many seconds, etc., etc. And I don't understand this at the end of this dash, any pallet and vault is blocked. Are you saying while he's running, it's like Legion's Feral Frenzy, and he can slide over pallets? Is that what I'm led to believe? Ooh. Map of the West Bend Mall. Isn't the West Bend Mall an actual thing? Hang on. Yeah. Paradise Pavilion, located on in West Bend. The name of it's Paradise Pavilion, but it's located on West Bend and Main Street of Wisconsin. There's also one in Washington, which somebody I know is from. There's one in Georgia. That's where I know it from, Georgia. The mall, West End, and they call it the West End Mall instead of by its name, Georgia. That's where I know it's from. Anyway, oh no, it's West Bend, not West End. Never mind. Never mind. It's Bend, not End. Perk 1, Jawbreaker. After a basic attack, the survivor is affected by the hearing status effect. The deafening status effect, I guess, is what it would be, but yes. Okay. Part 2. Okay. Or Perk 2. Sweet and low. While in the chase, the survivors outside of the chase face difficulty in actions. All skill checks are now 60% smaller. Um, not every action has skill checks, so I don't know if I would use facing difficulty in actions unless there's some sort of slowdown. You definitely don't want to go 60% smaller because there's already perks that when you're within skill check, it makes skill checks get smaller. However, this you're outside of the chase. So your skill checks and making everything smaller needs to be more like 10, 15 for like really, really small. Because every time you get in the chase, you're going to be applying this to the full map. Why everything sounds sexual to me now. I think it's my attitude now. You and me both, man. You and me both. I think it's overwhelming of force, I think is what I'm thinking of. Overwhelming presence. No, that's depletion rate. What's the other one? Unnerving presence. That is calm spirit. That is colophobia. That is fearmonger. There we go. No, the other one. Unnerving presence. Unnerving presence, when they're within your terror radius, increases odds of triggering skill checks by 10% and decreases success zones by 60%. And they have to be in your terror radius for this. So for anybody not being in your particular tear radius, you need to significantly nerf that way below what this is. Yeah, I said like 10, 15%. If you really want to get useful value out of your perk and not make it a man perk, I wouldn't go anything over half of all of this. 30, 25, 20, half of this. But you definitely don't want to take a perk that already is useful and already does what it's supposed to do, especially that mixed with, Huntress's Lullaby, so it matches good with another perk, but it also is useful by itself. This is kind of what I'm talking about now versus earlier. This is the situation where if Lulu was like, hey, this is the same as Unnerving Presence, and, did the Lulu thing, this would make sense. This is literally taking things, almost word for word. The 60% stat, the smaller, and all of that, and changing its activation to outside of chase instead of in terror radius. This is a OP map wide skill check. Huntress's Lullaby, you have to get hooks and actually token your way up to get the no skill checks, which takes 5. I'm pretty sure. Is it 3 or 5? I think it's 5. It's 5, right? I'm not going crazy. Pretty sure it's 5 for no skill checks. Sounds. And you have to work your way up to that particular I mean, I have it open. Why don't I just look it up? It's 5. I'm pretty sure it's 5. You can't tell me otherwise. Yes, it is 5. And you have to work very hard to get that. Well, not super hard, but you do have to put in some work to get those difficulty and skill checks and things like that. While the other one, they have to be inside of your terror radius in order to get those difficult or more difficult skill checks and things like that. While yours, you're trying to give them the same amount as one where you have to be near them, full map wide effects when you're in a chase, which makes no sense. Way too OP. Perk 3, cherry on top. Woo! Each time a survivor is hooked for the first time, so that means it's going to have a maximum activation of 4. Cherry on top gains a token. Cherry on top activates after each hook. At 1 token, survivors scream, revealing their location. Just every survivor just immediately screams after a hook. After one survivor gets hooked, huh? At 2 tokens, survivors are put into incapacitated status effect for 25 seconds. Even Ghostface's perk is only 16 seconds, and if they're already working on something, it doesn't even work. That is ridiculous. At 3 token, generators are blocked for 30 seconds. Really? At 4 tokens, all ores are revealed for 5 seconds. Well, your wording on that's wrong because you're going to have a killer clairvoyance effect where you're going to be able to see everything for 5 seconds and you're going to be confused like a mother because that is map wide. Lockers, hooks, chests, survivors, generators, windows, pallets, everything is going to light up like a Christmas tree for you. You might want to fix that. Unless that's what you really want by design. Good luck finding everything or anything out through that 5 seconds that you get there. This is... Oh, perk that rewards you for not tunneling, which I am for. However, the abilities that you're getting just for hooking every single survivor once are way too OP. You know, if you're running a killer like the Trapper, yeah, you're gonna have to put in a little bit of work. Not like a huge amount, but a little bit of work. You're gonna have to know where to sit your traps out and how to zone people. But think about, people that have the map wide, monitoring, or the Bubbas and with the cords that are super fast, or the Bellies, or the nurses, or, Onis, or anything, the Michael Myers, even still. Ghost faces, people that can, get one hit downs and have the ability, the legions who can just chain and see where people are, things like that. The killers that actually can just destroy with these perks that you're trying to implement. It might be fine and decently balanced for your particular killer, but when you balance it to the other killers in the game, it ends up being a absolutely not type thing. Even a doctor would go good with that. If you want something like this, I would recommend trying to incorporate it into your killer. Not like this, obviously, because it's super OP. It needs to be hard nerfed, but yeah. But yeah, as Lulu says. But I do like perks that reward you for not tunneling, like Devour of Hope. Obviously, you would stack that and that together to get actual good, value. There's other perks that you can stack with this, like Make Your Choice. If you really wanted to pop this very quickly, you hook a survivor, the next survivor that unhooks them. If you don't want to run Devour of Hope, Make Your Choice exposes the next survivor. You then run over, you clap them after they get the unhook, you hook them. Then all you gotta do is chase the other survivor off that just got unhooked and wait for somebody else to unhook them, and then you clap that survivor when they're exposed. And by that time, you get three. Usually, the fourth person smart enough to stay away, but sometimes they do that snowball effect, and you might just end the match doing it that way. For people saying the pig is the most useless killer and all of that, she does have a banger of a perk for camping killers. You have to agree with that. Make Your Choices disgusting. Survivor. Let's see if the Survivor perks are as OP as the killer perks. Outrunning Karma. At least they're not sexual oriented. Outrunning Karma. At the start of the trial, the aura of the killer is revealed to you for 9 seconds. So it's Nemesis's perk, but for survivors. Why would you give up an entire perk slot to know where exactly a killer is at the beginning of a match? That is insane. I mean, it's arguable whether that perk is good with like Nemesis, is good with Nemesis and things like that, but they have perks with why did I want to say divine protection? Corrupt intervention and things like that that stop survivors from working on generators, and that perk can give you a boost at the beginning of a match. Plus, Nemesis is OP anyways. But I don't know why, as a survivor, you would give up one perk for 9 seconds of or reading at the beginning of a match. That's terrible. Especially if you start the match with the killer running at you like I do. If I ran the perk, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to end up in a chase first, and I'm going to end up running the entirety of that perk out. Or I would get lucky every time I run this perk and spawn on the opposite side of the map and get zero use out of it. Oh yeah, the killer's way over there across map. Cool. Yeah. I'm still gonna work on this generator like I would have, regardless if I knew where the killer was or not, you know? Serendipity. Every time a generator is completed, you get a speed boost of 50%. Jesus Christ. This leaves you exhausted for 40 seconds. So you'd be running at 150% speed. So 6 meters per second. It doesn't say for how long, though. So does the piece speed just stay every time a generator gets completed and then you just get exhausted for 60, then it comes back, but you stay speedy? Because without a time of how long you stay speedy, it's kind of pointless. And the only time you would really get any value out of it is if you're gen rushing the crap out of the particular killer, or if you're sticking a generator and the killer's about to down you, you might be able to get away in that little bit of time. So it has its uses, but it's very niche. Like Outrunning Karma. If you run Outrunning Karma and Serendipity, you have at the beginning of the game, you're going to be buff for a little bit. And then whenever you complete a generator, if the killer is near you, you're going to get a little buff there. And if you run both of these perks together, 2 out of your perks, or 2 out of 4 of your perks, are going to be very niche, very rare activations, unless you're just a gen rusher at heart and you just want that excess speed. It's odd to want a speed boost after completing a generator for what I'm going to assume to be a couple of seconds, like sprint burst and all the other perks that are out there. Hmm. But I'll leave that there. Lighten up, boy. After you run through all of them sexual innuendos and memes, you definitely gonna be a little bit lightened, ain't you? Huh. Escape in a chase grants you a token. One token provides 7% of generator progress. That is. Let me think about this a second time because I want to say that it's useless. But before I say that, let me think about this a second time. Hmm. Let me do the math because I'm also 7% of 80. It's 5.6 seconds. I was going based off of a higher number too. So if you are the main runner and you're just running the absolute dog doo doo out of the killer, you are getting 5.6 seconds towards a generator. every single time you escape a chase. Now, there are ways to forcibly escape a chase in Dead by Daylight and then restart a chase and then escape it and restart it and escape it and things like that. Because the game goes by sight and then the number of seconds that you stay out of a particular killer's sight that counts as a escape. It also has actions that you can do that counts as a particular instant escape. And if you're running the correct set of perks and you're just a expert looper and you can keep the killer's attention, since there's no upper actual limit on this particular perk, you could possibly get up to a decent amount of percentages. I mean, if you escape 3 chases, which is generally, what you're gonna have before, the killer either gives up on you and goes for somebody else, or they stick to you like, glue. And at that point, they're not gonna leave you. They're gonna down you, they're gonna face camp you. And that's gonna be the end of the game. So you'll generally get about 3 escapes in, or somebody will take, chase from you, etc., etc. 3 chases is a little bit less than 18 seconds. It's like 17 point like 7 or something. I don't know. What did I say? I think I said it was like 5.6, 5.8. I don't know. I'm rounding up to 6 because that's the original thing that I went on. You escape 3 chases, that'll give you about 18% on a generator. When it comes down to 3 gen situations and things like that, this perk is extremely strong. But I mean, how often, unless you only play with low levels and things like that, and you have no aspirations of getting up in rank and playing with better people, how often do you actually find yourself in 3 gen situations? And not only a 3 gen situation, but a 3 gen situation to where you're oppressed as a survivor and really can't get any progress down on the gen to escape. This is like the ultimate 3 gen breaker perk. You bamboozle a killer into, 3 gen yourself if the killer, is a more campy type and has the plan of that. You run in like you're gonna do the generator, the killer comes at you, sort of, initiates chase, he does the you come near, I'm gonna hit you, you little punk, and then he backs away. And you force them to get into that chase with you. And they generally get a hit on you or something like that, and then you escape. And then you come back and you do a little small chase after you heal, or your survivor friends heal you, or a circle of healing or whatever heals you. And if you have people just sitting there, ready to heal you in there, you can get like 8-second heals, and you can just every 8 seconds run back out, have the killer chase you a little bit, and then go. And once you have enough stacks, you can literally just walk over, touch a generator, and it'll go from 0 to like 50, 60, 70%, just like that. And the killer be like, oh shit, what did I do? Especially if they're running like Ruin and they're really got close gens. This perk is like the ultimate perk in that. However, if you run this perk, you are either under the understanding that you're going to be running the killer most of the match, or you're going to be forcing yourself to go into a 3 gen situation, which is kind of questionable. What are you doing? 3 survivors can do a generator in 33 seconds. So, and then 2 survivors can do a generator in 44 seconds. That's estimation. So as long as you can get about 50% worth of gen time down, which you're getting 7% on each run. So after 7 or so case breaks, if you can manage to keep that up, that's throughout the game, while you're running the killer, and then towards the end, the 3 gen situation. You can cut down the time they'll take, the 22 seconds, if you can get 50 cents worth of 50 cents, 50% worth of time stored up. 22 seconds they spend on the generator, and if there's 3 survivors, I mean, it's even less. Whatever half of 33 is, it's like what, 16.5? Insane to just walk over and be able to touch a generator. Now, obviously, it's very niche, it's very powerful if you use it for what it is, but any other time, you're not going to get any progress out of it. You'll break like a couple of chases throughout the game, and that's if you put yourself out there, and you'll get like, yeah, 14, maybe 21% on a generator, which will be hard countered by Ruin, even if it matters. The only thing that I really do suggest adding to this particular perk is a activation trigger. I'd also put a max limit on it so you can't actually exploit it like I'm saying you can. I'm pointing out an obvious exploit for a reason. So put a cap on it and then set a trigger, some way to activate this particular perk, because if you escape a chase and a random generator on the map gets 7% of regular progress on it, anybody running Ruin, which Ruins ran quite often, Ruin will eat that 7%, and you're essentially running this perk for nothing, unless you just happen to roll lucky and that 7% goes into a generator that's already being worked on. You got a 1 in 7 chance at the beginning of the game. The chances increase to, a 1 in 5 chance, or a 1 in 3 chance. But, you're playing with fire using a perk that has huge RNG on it like that. This particular setup and everything isn't as bad as the concepts and killers and survivors and everything like that I've seen here recently. It's actually not that bad compared to the scraps that I've been scraping at the bottom of the barrel here to make content. Speaking of content, I'm already an hour in. So much for short, huh? It's missing the obvious things overview. It also says, well, I don't know why people are putting chapter. Don't put chapters if you don't have a complete chapter. Chapters have, yes, killer survivor. It has lore. It has add-ons. It has maps. It has a full set of everything. If you're not gonna go in and make an actual, like, full thought out, like, huge chapter concept, then I don't recommend putting chapter on it. Just put new killer and survivor. Because when I see new chapter, I'm expecting something amazing, something very well thought out that took a lot of time and a lot of effort to be put in. And when I see that and I click on these and I get something like this, sometimes I instantly just go, and I just go to another concept. Misleading information. You know what I just noticed? Yeah. I am pretty sure that particular post that I always go through and talk about every time that needs to be taken down, I think it actually got taken down. I do not see it anymore. Yeah, let's go team. Dead by Daylight at least has the knowledge to either move the particular post to some other place, and well, it was said it had been moved. It got completely deleted. So they did, yeah, that Claudette perk with all of that. It's gone. It is gone. Not there. It's not there. So let's go. But there goes to show you. There are mods active. Some mods, they're active for the wrong reasons, but there are mods that are active for the right reasons. It's nice to know that you can report something and it be taken care of. It only took 2 reports, too. Because I guarantee you, if you put a report in, like you said, I put a report in, that only took 2 of those. And they swoop, took it straight off very quickly. It took what, 2 days? Not bad. Not bad at all. Nice, nice, nice. All right. Well, on that good note, I am going to get out of here. If you are a child, stay safe. Stay away from creepy people. Even if they seem nice, that's even more of a reason to stay away from them. Stay away from creepy people. Don't talk to people that you don't know. Don't give out any personal information. And if anybody, regardless if they're your friend's mom or anything like that, ever tries to talk to you, ensure that a trusted adult is around. Now, if you're at that friend's house, obviously they're a trusted adult. But if you're out in the park, playing, and somebody else's mom walks up to you and all of that, the first thing you should do is run away and say, "Oh, hang on 1 second, I'll get my mom." And run as fast as you can to your mom and say, "Hey, mom, so and so's mom's here to talk to you," even if they're there just to talk to you. Don't worry about it. Get your parent involved. It might not make any sense, but anytime you are by yourself and somebody else, whether they're, trusted or not, as long as they're not like, your family, and that you can take with a grain of rice if they're not your trusted immediate family, your brother, your sister, your mom, or dad, if you're living with them, on a daily basis, or spending weekends between the two or something like that. Or, you know, your guardians or anything like that. Always have a parent or somebody like that near you if they're not anybody in your immediate family. If not, you will become, or there's a chance that you can always become a statistic on the news and end up kidnapped, or, something else crazy happens to you, or even worse. So make sure everybody stays safe. Parents, watch your children. People that are babysitting or left with children or nieces or anything like that, watch and see what they're doing. Don't let them get into danger and regret what you've done for the rest of your life. Don't ruin your life because you were negligent and watching this child that's in front of you. Don't let them run off on their own. Don't let them go down to the mailbox and check the mail on their own because they want to show off and show you that they're a big kid now. Make sure you keep eyes on and you stay, close enough to do what you need to do. I'm not saying, if somebody jumps out and tries to kidnap them with a gun, I'm not saying run out there and get yourself shot, because that makes you useless. If you're not shot, you can call the cops, you can get license plate information, ID them, the vehicle that they're in. The more information that you can get and give to the police, the faster they can act. The faster they can get an Amber Alert out, the faster you can get your child back. But if you panic and you run right at the kidnappers and get yourself shot and or kidnapped too, you're both gone. That's the end of it. Whenever somebody notices what happens and all of that, and they give you whatever details that they can get, which they're probably going to be at a distance and not have anything accurate, it's going to be too late. They're going to be hours on the road, different state, different areas, and that's how bad things happen to people. Have emergency plans for your children for different situations. If anybody's watching this, I ask you one question. Somebody was to break in your house right now, what would your son or daughter do? Would they panic, run around, crying and screaming, ask who they are, try to confront the killer, or do you have a plan? If a fire was to break out, if things like that were to happen, common things was to happen, does your child actually know what to do? Do they know how to dial 911? How to use the phones and all of that, who to talk to, or is your child just going to lay on the ground crying and screaming, kicking their feet as they get kidnapped, hurt, burned to death, etc., etc.? These are things that you need to bestow on your child. Just trust me, in the future, if something does happen when they're not near you anymore, when they're teenagers and things like that, you're going to be making it real hard on the people around them if they don't have these basic skills. Yes, schools try to instill these skills in your children, having a safe place while in the school and things like that. But if the parents aren't following up with this and staying current with everything that they do, when it happens to them, they might just freeze up and something bad happen. Then, before you go out and buy them a car because they passed their driver's test and all of that, make sure they know what to do when they're in an accident. Make sure you let them know that, hey, if you get in an accident, I'm more worried about you than the damn car. Don't hide an accident that you've had in the car and be injured and go to the hospital and do all of these things behind your back because you don't care what happens to the car. You care what happens to your son and or daughter. Don't hide those things, be responsible. If I give you this car and you hit something, let me know that you hit something. Yeah, I'm going to be a little disappointed because, it's probably an expensive car, but I'm not going to throw you out on your butt or anything crazy like that because you hit something. Accidents happen. We know this. Sometimes cars just fall apart for no reason. Keep up to date with your children. I don't care how angry they get or how much of a bother they think it is. It does not matter. Don't have these regrets that a lot of parents have because you're not staying up to date with your child, not teaching them the right ways to do things, not raising your own kid and giving them the common sense that they need. But on that, I'm going to stop because if I go any deeper, I'm going to be going into my adulthood, parenthood, all the other types of psychology certificates and diplomas and crap that I have. I don't even have children, and I guarantee you I can raise a child better than most of the people out there. And it's got nothing to do with supplying them and giving them everything they want, and you know, doing this and that or another, or saying, well, money's an obstacle, and this and that and another, and all of these other bullshit that parents say to try to justify them being bad parents. Like good parents, you know who you are. You know you've been doing good. You have nothing to feel ashamed about because you know you've raised your child right. The bad parents that are running around doing things in front of their children that are just downright illegal. You got your super bad problems that you're working through, things like that, and you're exposing your child to all of this. They become teenagers, they start falling into bad habits, and you're dealing with your bad habits, and they're dealing with their bad habits, and they're looking for guidance that you can't give them, so they go to somebody else. Some people find good role models, some people find bad role models, and fall in with a specific type of group that the problems get worse. And then their lives ends up getting ruined, and they end up in jail and going down a path that they don't want to go, or dead, or doing stupid things that change their life forever. Then when they finally start to mature out of it and try to go on being, a regular, fully functioning adult and all of that, something's just not right in them. Why? Because the brain cells are burnt up. Their lungs and body and everything else isn't developing fully, isn't developing right. So they're slower than they could always, or could they ever be. Not as smart as they could have been. They don't have that decision making and all of that that you were supposed to just bestow upon them. And you end up getting, I was going to say you end up getting Gen Z, but that's not necessarily true. I've met a lot of I don't dislike Gen Z. I've met a lot of Gen Z people that are very intelligent. Some are multimillionaires just from investing in Bitcoin and things like that. I mean, they are living very good lives. It's just the majority of Gen Zs that you see have the same problem and aspects. And the more that they sit online, the more that aspect gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And it just needs to be corrected before they start having children. And the children end up worse than they are. And it just spirals. But either way, parents, supplement your kids' lifestyles by supplementing yours. Do the right thing. Do what needs to be done. Stop being so selfish and negligent to your children. Get off the couch and raise your son and or daughter or whatever you want them to, or whatever they want to be, I should say. Regardless, thank you for those of you that don't know, and I will see you guys next time. Hour and a half, by the way. It is short for me because generally it's a little bit longer, but it's right about regular time. I ain't slept yet, by the way. ah, ah. I'll be drinking energy drinks today. uh, have a nice, I guess it'd be what, afternoon? Well, not an afternoon, evening for you. Well, no, morning for you, Galanonim. Well, I guess it'd be evening. Because if it's 12 o'clock, then it'd be evening for you. But I guess it could be two. You can tell I'm tired. I'm just rambling. I'm getting off now. See ya. I'll try to.